Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
ladies and gentlemen, at this time I'm going to ask everyone to please make sure your cell phones are silenced. Services will begin in about 5 minutes.
This is the first time I've ever played my guitar and sung with the guitar at a funeral before, but given the individual and perhaps the words to the song, it seems a nice way to start. So this is Shalom Rav. If you're familiar with it, join us. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Leolam. So we gather here at this time and in this place to say goodbye to Ro. I am aware that various different people have various different relationships with her. I'm aware that some of you here are mourning a mother and a mother-in-law, and many are mourning a bubby, or a bubby-in-law, or a grandbubby, great-grandbubby. I'm not exactly sure what the word would be for that, but I know that many of you here have come because you are connected to Knesset Israel, of which she was such a meaningful and active and longtime strong member of the congregation. I know yet others are here because you've been friends for her for a long time. I think it was the Golden Girls, over 50 years of friendship, playing mahjong regularly. Just various different people here for various different, some of you are here because you're supporting loved ones who are struggling, and that's very meaningful too. For all of us, though, we come here to say goodbye to Ro and to consider her life and meditate on her journeys, and to meditate on what it's meant over the years to have known her and to have been inspired by her. Psalm 16, it begins, Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. It means, I have set the eternal always beside me. God is at my side, and I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure, for you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Indeed, death has taken our beloved Ro. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation In their tears, there's sorrow, and lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of all of us, of loving friends. For Ro's life, which united us, and which death cannot sever, and for her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues, of course, through the tenderness of memory, and for the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and which is now a precious memory. For all these and more, we give our thanks. Psalm 1. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzat risha'im. It means, happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is her delight, and she studies that teaching day and night. She's like a tree planted beside a stream of water. It yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes. And perhaps the most well-known psalm of them all, Psalm 23. It's particularly meaningful because, not just because of the poetry and the beautiful images, but also because, given the context, it makes moments like this more significant, and let me explain to you why. You see, the psalmist we think is David, as in King David, but at the time that he was writing the Psalms, that we think that he was just David. He wasn't King David yet. Why do I say that? Because Saul was out pursuing him, because Saul was concerned that David was trying to usurp the throne. Saul was probably right, but that doesn't matter, because what matters is that David wrote these Psalms, and he did so at a time in which he didn't know if he was going to survive Saul's and his army pursuing him, finding him, and potentially executing him. And so David writes these words, "God is my shepherd, I shall not be moved." And what's meaningful about that is it's not clear if the image of God being a shepherd for him is when he lives to protect him or when he dies. And why I tell you this is because it reminds us that we are still part of the same flock with Ro. We still have the same shepherd. We utter these words, and we do so hoping that God will be a shepherd both for her and for us as well. So I'll share with you the words of Psalm 23, and then if you'd like to afterwards recite it in English with me, you're welcome to. If you know it in Hebrew by heart, you're welcome to join me as well. Adonai ro'i lo echsar bin ot desha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni nafshi yishovev yancheni v'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo gam ki elech b'gei tzamavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yinachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai dishanta v'shemen roshi hosi revaya Ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni kol yimei chayai v'shavti b'veit Adonai l'orech yamim. Join me in the English if you know it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Another expression. This is Proverbs 31. It's kind of maybe famous for its title. The title is A Woman of Valor. It goes like this. A woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She's clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. So I'd like to share with you just a very, very brief background of a person from our tradition whose name is Job. And Job was an unfortunate soul. And the reason why is because while he had everything he could possibly want, a farm, a family, good health, sustenance, a house, and everything was going so well for him. And then in a blink of an eye, it all changed. Everything was taken from him. His health, his farm, his family, his sustenance, everything was taken from him. And in his sorrow, Job cried out. He said, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yihi shem Adonai mevorach. That means the Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. We are an ancient people, well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. And yet, the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there's strength in faith. And so, with Job and like Job, we also say, Adonai Natan. O God, you gave. You gave us Ro, a cherished loved one. And she will not be forgotten. And for all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. And yet at the same time, we're forced to say, Adonai lakach, O God, you've taken from us. And we pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into some semblance of trust. So hopefully we can all come to say, like Job, that despite the struggle that we're feeling now, the true loss, Hishem Adonai Mevorach, that despite it all, blessed be God's name now and forever. So there are a number of people who would like to say a few words. I'm sure there are many in this sanctuary right now who would like to say a few words. However, you can do so at a later time. But for now, I would like to call upon specifically, shall we start with the two of you? Okay. So we'll start with Lori and Patty first, and then we'll bring up the grandkids after that. Do you want to come up together, or would you like to go one at a time? You come up first? Okay.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today to remember our fabulous mom, Ro. This is for our mom. If roses grow in heaven, God, please pick a bunch for us. Place them in our mother's arms and tell her they're from us. Tell her we love her and miss her. And when she turns to smile, place a kiss upon her cheek and hold her for a while. Because remembering her is easy. We do it every day. But there's an ache within our hearts that will never go away. Roses for sweet Rosalie. As you can see, Patty and I are wearing scarves with roses today. And our immediate family has roses on them too, and we have them here. Not just because it was her favorite flower, but because pink was her favorite color. Also, a pink rose symbolizes missing someone, which is quite apropos for today. My mom, she was the bright spot of sunshine that started almost every day with me, calling me on the phone, saying, "Hi, honey, what are you doing? What are the kids doing?" Those words summed up who my mom was as a loving and caring person. She always wanted to know what everyone was up to and how she could really be involved. Family was important to my mom, to the core. One of the last words and thoughts my mom expressed before she passed away was, "I love my family." Our mother was not just beloved by her family, but also by her friends, who were an integral part of her life. They called themselves the Golden Girls, and they would get together every Saturday to eat lunch at the mall. She also enjoyed playing mahjong, shooting pool at the senior center, and in her younger years was a champion duck pin bowler and received many trophies. Our mom adored Camille, Gail, and Tris, who were not just her caregivers, but her friends and companions. My mom had a real joy for life, and everyone around her felt that exuberance. And of course, my mother's greatest friend was her beloved Len, and they were married for 70 blessed, fun years. Our relationship was based on honesty and trust. I could comfortably tell her how I felt and always did the same for me. We were unique because our temperaments were similar, which at times caused us to have disagreements, and other times, emotional, loving moments, full of hugs and kisses, connecting our feelings without words. We were shopping buddies with similar taste in clothing. We loved to schmai, touching all the clothes, even if we were not even going to buy them. Shopping made her very happy. Cooking, not so much. Unless it was her famous Jell-O mold that she would bring to some of our family holidays. Our mom took great pride in her appearance and would laugh when someone would try to guess her age, and often they would get it wrong. Mom wanted to look forever young, keeping her blonde hair, wearing pink lipstick, and not even wanting to have a walking aid for assistance, even when she needed it in her later years. Mom spent 37 years teaching young children at KI Nursery School. They were grouped as her redbirds and yellowbirds. When teaching, she would enjoy singing with her auto harp and read books with googly-eyed glasses, which always made the children laugh. She also taught my sons, Brian and Mark, and when they called her Bubby, the other children thought her name was Bobby, so they would call her Bobby. I was actually the director of KI Nursery School and was her boss for a period of time. Working with her felt extra special because I never would have become a teacher without her influence. Growing up, I would help her in the classroom when I wasn't in school, and she inspired me with her enthusiasm and fun spirit when I became an educator in the county. She was my role model, not just teaching, but in how I lived my life. I played violin when I was younger because she played violin. And when I became a mother, I passed on the same values, love, and goofiness to my children as she was. Anytime someone describes my mom, they would use words like warm, friendly, outgoing, and caring. She had a beautiful, infectious smile. And when you talked with her, you felt engaged. She spoke with honesty and humor. She was a real, genuine person. And what you saw was what she was. She enjoyed making reservations at restaurants and going out to eat with her friends and family. We have such good memories of spending time with her for all milestone birthdays as well as holidays. It's impossible not to think of my mother when I remember all the special occasions of my life. It will be difficult not having her present at get-togethers with mine and Patty's families. She will be sorely missed by all of us. It's incomprehensible to fathom what it would be like without her in our daily lives. She felt like a part of me. Her soul was so close to my soul in a way that made it more than a typical mother-daughter relationship for us. We had a special bond, my mother and I. We were soulmates through and through, or as my father always liked to say, we were two peas in a pod. I love you forever, Mom. Rest peacefully with that.
We just heard that, you can come up, we just heard that she loved to shop, less to cook. I'm now better understanding why it was that she helped Lenny at Lad and Lassie in the store, but when it came to the restaurant, she was nowhere to be found. It's becoming a little clearer to me now. But,
you got it, Ari.
That's
you got it. It was fortuitous of my mother, just off the cuff here, that my father owned a children's clothing store during all the years that my mother took such great pride in dressing Lori and me up as her Barbie dolls. And then later in life, when she just wasn't even going to deal with the pretense of cooking, my father had the good fortune to have a restaurant. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today, helping Lori and me remember our mom, Ro. She was beautiful. She was beautiful, high-spirited, a dynamo of a woman. And if you didn't know her too well, let me tell you, you missed the sensation of a century. I loved her deeply, and she adored me, enjoyed me, cheered me on, was always proud of me and all my accomplishments. My mom simply made me feel like the best girl in the whole world. And because Mom loved song and theater, musical theater, I'm going to bundle up a list of memories that I will simply call, these are a few of Ro's favorite things. As Lori mentioned, pink. Oh my God, pink. There wasn't enough pink in the world. She wore pink. Her whole house was pink. She especially loved it if you and I wore pink and had pink lipstick on. She loved her kitty cats. One crazy cat after another and another and another. Oh, God. She loved Antique Roadshow, Judge Judy. She loved her garden, adored her flowers. And when winter came and her flowers were no more, my mother still loved her flowers. So she would take artificial flowers and she would put them in the pot on her patio so she would still have something pretty to look at. She loved her morning coffee. It was always instant. As Lori mentioned, she loved billiards, mahjong, and boy, she loved her girlfriends. She loved hot dogs and sauerkraut. She loved hot fudge sundaes. She loved the beach, where she and my dad spent many years, spending time with family and friends. And she especially loved crabs and beer at the beach. She loved her home. She never wanted to live anywhere else, and she never did. She loved babies. She loved her own 2 babies. She loved our babies. And she lived long enough to love our babies' babies. She loved birds. She loved her independence. She loved her opinions. She would often call me, former journalist, to espouse many a political opinion over the telephone. She loved music, and her life was a beautiful song. And boy, did she love her 5 grandsons. Each one of them handsome, sweet, smart, and silly just like her. Yeah, they were a lot like their bubby. But her 2 favorite things, and I'm gonna just talk to my sister here. Her 2 favorite things were Patty and Lori. Patty and Lori. We always lived in the world of Mommy, Patty, and Lori. And it feels impossible to live in a world without the 3 of us holding on to each other. I'll have to close my eyes and dream that that world goes on forever. But honestly, save the best for last. Her most favorite thing in her life was always her Lenny, who she lost 4 years ago. And the other night, when we were saying our goodbyes and gathered around her with so much love, telling her how much we loved her, I looked around her room and saw it a little differently. It seemed to me that my dad had really never left. She slept with a picture of my father right next to her for the past 4 years. And as we were saying our goodbyes and Frank Sinatra music was filling the air, it was as if my dad had walked back into that room that night, stretched out his arm for his best and prettiest sorority girl, and waltzed away with her one last time. I'd like to think of them that way. And as the lyrics of that song that they loved so much, I'll be seeing you in all the familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. I'll see you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. You just shared about how she doted on her grandsons. Maybe now is a good time to invite the 5 of you to come up and say a few words.
Afternoon, everybody. Rosalie Berman, our Bubby, or as I often called her, my Bubs. And she had her own nickname for me, her Andrewski. So I'm Andrew, for those who may or may not know me. I'm one of the 5 grandsons. And I just wanted to share some of my memories of Bubby with you all today. An amazing woman, filled with so much life and energy. And her memory is intertwined with me and my childhood as steamed crabs are with Old Bay seasoning. She was the seasoning that turned the ordinary into extraordinary. With her sharpest wit, her musical whimsy, and her endless love of family. I love these things about Bubby, and they will always be a part of the fibers of my soul. If you knew her, you'd know how bright and witty she was, and if you didn't, well, you'd figure it out pretty quickly. Together with her Lenny, our pop-pop, the two of them would show you a whole different way to be funny, from her traditional toasts of here's to you and here's to me, to bantering at the Passover Seder table of wanting to sing the next song, move things along, or wondering when it's time to eat. Always a quick jab, ready to go, and maybe not the most sensitives, but this was part of her charm, and she loved the people she razzed. She adored her family. Just as quickly as she could come up with a joking retort, she'd also have just as many songs queued up in her mind, ready to sing. She'd have, somehow her mind kept these memories and harmonies and fragments of golden oldies stored away for decades. As I was going back through pictures and videos this week, I came across a song she sang one night at the table to my little girl from 1950, Daddy's Little Girl. And listening to her sing that song, listening to her sing anytime would bring you back to a bygone era when life was at a different pace, but for herself, she surrounded herself in memories and music, and Lenny and her would sing together. But Bubby didn't just sing for herself. She sang for those around her. It was one of her ways of showing love. Something would remind her of a lyric or two, and then off she went, just sharing chorus and verse as if she'd heard it on the radio just that week. She sang for all of us from the love in her heart, and a lot of that seems to have passed through the family into her daughters and into us grandkids as well. Family gatherings with Bubby and my cousins, the Hoffmans were the leitmotif of the musical tapestry of my upbringing. No Berman gathering felt complete without all of us gathered together, singing and eating, laughing and playing, and Bubby just loved to surround herself with all of us and hear of all of our interests and the comings and goings of our lives, especially as we all grew older. She enjoyed the company of her 5 grandsons, the various girlfriends who came and went, the few who stick around to become our wives, and even the pleasure of her 5 great-grandchildren, who she loved so dearly. We grandsons recall countless summers at Ocean City with Bubby and Pop-Up, and I remember building sandcastles on the beach with her and playing card games, too. Of course, we played the staples of old childhood games like Go Fish and Old Maid, but her favorite game of all, as we sat there on the floor by the television, was one of deep strategy and deception. I'm talking, of course, about the card game War. You know, the card game where you simply deal cards, the higher number wins, and despite the utter lack of skill or timing involved in this game, Bubby somehow won every time. Oh, did I mention she was competitive? So we also would go out to play mini golf when we were at the beach, which was another part of our childhood upbringing, and just because we were kids didn't mean she wasn't going to show off a little bit after she'd get the inevitable hole-in-one and dance around the golf course in celebration. And then she'd take us all out for ice cream, going to King Cone, getting a nice little ice cream sundae, or celebrating in our own way. We would be just simple kids spoiled by our Bubby. Speaking of kids, she loved her grandchildren and her family. Any chance she got, or her great-grandchildren, I mean, any chance she got to snuggle with them, or as she loved to do, is kiss them behind their ears. I don't know where that came from. She'd get right down on the ground and play with those little tiny kids. Even at her 97th birthday, we have pictures of her and memories of her just down on the floor. Bubby, you're 97, get off the floor. Playing with those kids just as if it were any ordinary day. She could not miss out on any opportunity to be with her family, play with her kids, her grandkids, or her great-grandkids. All of this and more was my Bubby. She and Pop-Pop started a family with just my mom, Patty, and her sister Lori, and then she nurtured it over the years and watched her family grow and grow. I wish Pop-Pop could have seen his great-grandchildren come into the world alongside his row. But I know for damn sure that she's up there right now, giving him an earful and telling him all about it. I love you, Bubs, and I'll always be thinking about you, as our kids remind us about you every day.
I don't know quite what to say about Bubby. Growing up with Bubby and Lori teaching preschool, I feel shaped me because they would sing all the time. And a random word or phrase might trigger a whole song from 60 years ago. And even though I couldn't sing you anything that they sang me, I felt like it gave me permission to break into song wherever I am, whatever I'm saying. So much so that my 1.5-year-old daughter, one of her favorite things to say is, no, Abba, no singing. One voicemail I have of her as I saved is her singing me her trademark birthday song, One Day Late, and then improvising alternative lyrics just clearly on the spot. It's great. Bubby taught me the love of games and jokes, from cards to mini golf. I believe she instilled in me a sense of competition, mixed with curiosity and good humor. I remember Hanukkah in her living room wearing goofy fake teeth and taking photos, or getting schooled by her in pool at the senior center. It was very embarrassing. Above all, though, as you've heard, Bubby loved her family. She wanted everyone to be close, which is, I think, why we're all so close. Our cousins. I even remember Sarah and I were broken up for a period of time before we got married, and I went over, and she said, how about that, Sarah? Any grandbabies yet? Any great-grandbabies? And I said, Bubby, we broke up. She said, that doesn't mean you can't have kids. She would rally for any family event and delighted in watching us all grow up together. Bubby and Pop-Pop's house was a second home to us. I can see every corner with my eyes closed. I can smell it. Watching TV downstairs by the Toby mugs, when she would offer us lunch of hot dogs and ice cream sandwiches, sitting in the sunroom, sharing travel stories or just shooting the breeze. I remember sitting outside in her garden during COVID. We brought over our new puppy, Covey, who she loved. She loved having pets love her and that brilliant joy. Or her insisting on sitting on the floor of her living room, months ago, playing with our daughter, Mira. I love you, Bubby. Thank you for teaching us how to comport ourselves and that it's never inappropriate to wear a sombrero at Chevy's. I miss you already.
Hey, folks. I've heard a lot of us talk about the myriad of memories of our Bubby and how she led such a brilliant, loving life. We hoped it would last just a little while longer, but despite our best wishes, we recognize that tomorrow has come too soon. The final chapter in her story has concluded, and she returns to the earth to rest eternally with her beloved. I could wax nostalgic, as all of us have, talking about Bubby's humor and sharp wit, her card-playing antics, shooting pool, her infamous toasts. But the paddle thumb that I happen to inherit that I will never forgive her for. Especially her garden, which she took great pride in maintaining and sharing. The discovery that she had mulberry trees in her yard, which happened to be a cornerstone of my childhood. Or the Swiss cheese plant that I'd given her a couple years back that she couldn't wait to tell me and regale me of how out of control it had grown. But in that warm, fuzzy feeling of remembrance and the stories we continue to tell, her spirit lives on in us. The radiant moments of her life that have touched each and every one of us and imbued us with her love and her light and her zest for life. The stories that bind all of us together as family, friends, community. I look at everyone here and people I don't even know that I know that her spirit lives on in all of us, every soul that hers has touched. And I believe that our lives are so much fuller for Bubby having been with us. But it's also our turn now to continue to write our own stories that would make her proud, or at the very least, to make her crack that trademarked grin. Let's make it a good one.
Before I share a poem about Bubby, I just want to speak on behalf of my brother and I, just how lucky we were to only live 5 minutes from our Bubby and Pop-Pop, and how long we were able to have them in our lives. And this is a hard one for both of us. I really always thought of both of them as a mother and father, not as grandparents. They were just always there. So grief is really just when you don't have a place to put your love, and she was so goddamn loved. It's the week before Christmas, and we're at Paul's Cafe. A blizzard of phyllo dough flakes is scattered by Rosalie's legs. This is the last lunch with my Bubby that I will ever share, but I don't know that then, as my hands bury in my hair. She complains to the hapless waiter that the spanakopita isn't right. Do you see how much this is falling apart? She glares, raring for a fight. We try to tell her that it's supposed to be flaky like that. It's fine. But there was never a chance, once it was set, of ever changing her mind. Today, I'm a Paul's spanakopita and I'm falling apart. So many memories scattered by my feet that I don't know where to start. But like we tried to tell her that day, this is how it's supposed to be. So to paraphrase her famous toast, to hell with it, here's to my eulogy. It is the conclusion of a chapter in so many ways. Bubby would count every time I saw her while home from LA. Each visit began with a call, her voice asking, "Am I going to see you on this trip?" "I don't know, it depends if you're nice to me," I would say, with a sarcastic drip. She could be fiercely honest and tell me I'm getting fat or my face is too scruffy, but she'd say it in a way that made me smile and think, that's just my Bubby. She tortured me for years with all her cats, from vicious Shelly to gentle Kit. My allergies be damned, she loved them all, possibly more than her own kids. Sorry. She would at times regale us with tales of her romantic past, canceling her New Year's date for burping before meeting true love Lenny at last. In her youth, she expertly played the violin, sonorous notes I never got to hear. But the music I will always remember is the sound of her laughter in my ears. Bubby could slay you with her wit and that mischievous glint in her sapphire eyes, a personality that filled up every room and lit up all our lives. She was simply always there for us, never afraid to offer her advice. And for those of you who may not know, even if she was wrong, she was always right. Her 70-year marriage to Pop-Pop was a shining standard of love's endurance, and that miraculous love flows through our family like an ocean's forever currents. Bubby was my preschool teacher, my grandmother, my friend. She was living glass that reflects my whole life from its beginning to her end. Life is unimaginable without you. Your beautiful smile, your songs, your laugh. No more counting the times I get to see you, that wonderful, crazy Bubby math. The joke of death is you don't get the last word, but I'm pretty sure you'd think life is too long to be serious and too short not to eat a hot dog or wear pink. I'll love you forever, Bubby.
Thank you to all of the people who've shared with us such perfect memories and words. And I will also share a few thoughts, but I will not do everything in her life because you've heard so much. But allow me just to bring it all together, if you don't mind. Ro was born in Baltimore, but her father came from Russia with his 5 sisters. And so she remembers growing up in talk about a fraternity house or a sorority house. It was a big event in that house, and she was always connected with the various members of her family and extended family. And so that was how she started, knowing just how critical family was to her. And certainly that is a leitmotif which travels throughout the course of her entire life, cherishing those who are most close to her and interacting with them. She, in her own words, these are her words, not mine, she said that Lenny chased her and chased her until she finally caught him. Yes, 70 years of marriage. And he brought her here to the Jewish wasteland of Annapolis. Her words. But she created something huge here. She may have been brought here, but what she created here was something remarkable. And her time and her contribution to Congregation Knesset Israel cannot be overlooked. She ran the gift shop. She was active with Sisterhood, Hadassah, Council of Jewish Women, the choir of Knesset Israel. She was greatly active in the life of the congregation, and that's, in fact, on so many levels, her social group. And the people that she came to know and love, and so deeply, were the people that she had met at the synagogue. We learned about her love of the beach and Ocean City. We did not hear, though, about the fact that she loved to travel all over the place. This is not an exhaustive list, but rather just a portion, but she was in Spain, in Italy, Israel, England, all over the United States, Mexico, cruises that she and Lenny loved to travel. And also Ocean City, yeah. We learned about her love of animals, most specifically cats. I think I remember hearing you say that she was begging for another cat at any given moment, at any given time. Begging. And I can imagine why that would be, on the one hand, considering how crazy these felines can be, although it is kind of consistent with perhaps the personality that she had. She was fun and silly, we heard about that. She was loving and affectionate, we heard about that. And adventurous, although sometimes a scaredy cat, as I learned. Honest and vivacious and feisty and beautiful and put together, right? Not just the pink lipstick, but everything put together. And she was a blonde till her final moments. She, more important than any other appointment that she had was that weekly hair appointment. But I would argue that perhaps the one piece which we heard on a number of occasions, but it probably is worth just mentioning one more time, is just how musical she was. Not just the violin, not just studying at Peabody, not just singing in the hallways or singing everything. I think it was Patty who said that her life was a song. It's a beautiful message, and it's a beautiful metaphor. And this week's Torah portion, interesting, is called Bishalach, which is the Song of the Sea. This week's Torah portion is the one in which, after going through the Sea of Reeds, actually depicted on our ark doors here, after going through the Sea of Reeds, we got to the other side. We saw that we had made it to freedom, and we broke out in song. And this week is called the Sabbath of Song. How fitting that on the Sabbath of Song, on the week of song, that she should be taken. And I mention this because the rabbis say about the expression from the Torah portion, Az Yashir Moshe. It means, then Moses will sing. And the commentators say, why did it say it in the future tense? Then Moses will sing. And they answer the question by saying, because those who sing when they are alive, they will continue singing throughout eternity. And on this Shabbat and on this meaningful and powerful day, we can rest assured that the song that came from Rose's mouth and throat and soul and heart is one which continues to live on with us. That we recognize that her life was a song. And we continue to think about her as a song. And we continue to remember her greatest achievements and accomplishments and her extraordinary legacy. We do so through music. That her life was a song, and her death also can be a song. It can be a song that uplifts us because we were reminded of just what kind of an extraordinary human being she was, what a loving and lovely human being she was, and how much she so deeply cared for the people in her life. And so we have an expression in our tradition. It's Zecher Tzadik Livracha Me'ata V'ad Olam. It means, may the memory of a righteous person, and I dare say, may the memory of a singer, always remain in our hearts and in our minds as a blessing. Amen. There are two elements to the funeral service that remain, or two prayers. One is something that we'll utter here, and then the second is something that we'll utter at the cemetery. So at the cemetery is customarily the first recitation of the Kaddish prayer. And so that's what will be happening there. But here, we have the opportunity to utter the expression called El Maleh Rachamim, which is a prayer in which we ask God to comfort Ro and guide her on her journeys, to be a companion and a protector for her. It's a prayer that we insert her Hebrew name into it, so we personalize this prayer for her. Rose's Hebrew name was Riva, Bat Chaim V'chana. And so for this final prayer that will happen here in the synagogue, in the sanctuary of El Maleh Rachamim, I'd like to invite everyone to please rise. El male rachamim, shochen bamromim. Hametzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashechina. Im kedoshim et horim kezohar harakia. Mazhirim et nishmat, riva bat chaim v'chana, shalcha le'olama. Bal rachamim yastireha beseter knafav lo'lamim. Bitzror chaim et nishmata, Adonai hu nechalata. V'tanuach b'shalom amishkava, v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Rosalie Berman. Rosalie, who was the daughter of Henry and Anna, for she has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Just a quick note, for those of you going to the cemetery, we ask you to please use the cemetery parking lot, which is on the left, right past the main entrance. When I call your names, will the following pallbearers please make your way to the back of the sanctuary? Howard Hoffman, Brian Hoffman, Mark Hoffman, Mitchell Herman, Andrew Herman, Tyler Herman, and Justin Herman. Would everybody please rise? Ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude this portion of the service, and you may exit using the open door in the rear. Thank you.